Hey guys, it's Exotic and welcome to a different type of video. I found a channel called Old Minecraft Reuploads which has a kinda eerie ARG-like vibe to it. You might have seen it covered on another channel, but I'm gonna go ahead and cover it on mine and give my own take. So before we do that, I would heavily encourage you to watch these videos on your own and form your own opinions first and then come back and watch my take. I don't want to influence the way you view the series on your own, and you can't watch these with an open mind after watching someone theorize and explain it, so once again I'd encourage you to watch it yourself first. Without further ado, let's get into it. First things first, we'll introduce the two characters. We have Golden Mario 982, who I will refer to simply as Mario, and Legend of Anthony 721, who I will refer to as Anthony. The videos on the channel are uploaded in a certain order, but I do not think this is the actual order the videos are meant to be watched in. The only other materials we could use to find the proper order are the file dates in the descriptions and the versions of the game being played. The first video has no description and therefore no file date, and is titled Other 2. The reason I place it first is because it is the earliest version of the game recorded in the series, that being Alpha 1.1704. It seems to be standard, albeit blurry footage of a player who I believe to be Mario descending into a cave. However, as he goes deeper, we seem to switch to another perspective that is later confirmed to be Anthony's. He seems to somehow be trapped in an enormous stone prison of sorts, so large it can't even be rendered all the way. Once he moves forward, we see a huge wall of fences going up seemingly infinitely. As Anthony pans down, we can just barely see the head of an all-black figure. Text appears in the chat, and once appropriately shifted through a Caesar cipher, it reads, "You never really were the nicest person, Anthony," and then more text which, when shifted, reads, "Quit lying to yourself." This is the end of the first video, and we are left with a lot of questions. What has Anthony done? What is the figure? How was that massive stone building constructed in a version that didn't even have creative mode yet? We don't have answers, but what I believe is the most important thing to note about this video is that Anthony knows about the entity at the very earliest point in the series. It is also apparent that this entity is attempting to either make Anthony feel guilty or apply some sort of psychological pressure to him, or both. The next video in our order is called Other, and it is dated September 14th, 2010. The description reads, "Random footage I had lying around of me and a friend chatting on a server, a bit corrupted as you can tell from the quality." This is the first time, other than through deciphering the Caesar cipher, that we are given our names for the characters. The even more important thing to note, though, is the conversation at hand. It seems Anthony has been feeling sick, and Mario is wishing him the best in a quick recovery. However, Anthony seems to be getting worried about it for some reason. We already know Anthony has already had at least one encounter with our entity so far. However, I am undecided as to whether Anthony is actually physically sick as a result of the entity, or is just being pressured into acting unwell to further some sort of agenda. The thing is, being worried, as Anthony is, implies to me that he hasn't had a doctor's visit. Otherwise, he would have answers to settle his worries. Why get sick and not go to a doctor? Insurance issues? I think not. I think Anthony doesn't go to a doctor because either he isn't sick or he knows what is causing it, that being the entity. Either way, it would seem Anthony is up to something nefarious. Our next video is Minecraft Base Tour and is dated September 20th, 2010. The description reads, "A base that I built when I first started playing. Looking back, it's pretty bad. There weren't even beds yet, so I had to use wool." It starts out as a simple base tour of a beginner player's base. It's a kind of mid-base, as Mario states in the description. Soon into the tour, however, Mario finds some tunnels, and based off of his reaction, it doesn't seem that he recognizes them or remembers digging them at all. He pauses the tour to try to investigate the tunnel, and for a second we see the screen switch to a player that is in complete darkness on very low HP. Could this be Anthony? He goes down the mine to investigate another tunnel, when we hear the sound of rapid block placement and see the bottom half of some sort of entity. The video cuts here. The bottom half was blue, which could line up with a Steve skin. My theory is that this was Anthony, and the cut to his perspective was him hiding somewhere under the tunnels or under Mario's base. What would he be doing tunneling under Mario's base? I think it is a symptom of the illness that Anthony is experiencing. Next up is the TNT Poner, and this is my personal favorite of all the videos. The file is dated September 22nd, 2010, and there are two different descriptions, as if this was uploaded previously. The original description was, "The TNT Poner gets his revenge on monsters of the night." The new description reads, "Looks like I fixed the resolution from the last video. This was also my first time using Windows Movie Maker, so it looks as well as you would expect. It's kind of embarrassing." The video consists of Mario running around his world, partaking in a bit of TNT tomfoolery, if you will, with the main victim being literally any monster in the area. Nothing is really off except for these 4 messages. It's kind of creepy, but hey, maybe Mario was just feeling a little edgy that day. There's honestly not much here in the way of lore, so we are going to move on to the next video, that being really cool caves in Minecraft. This file is dated September 26, 2010, and the description reads, "Really cool and weird cave generation I found in Minecraft." 18 seconds in, we can see the entity in the cave with him, however Mario doesn't notice and continues exploring. This is until we hear the familiar sound of blocks placing rapidly. Mario investigates, and when he hears a spooky cave sound, he exits the game. I don't believe this cave generation was natural, and I believe it was done by the entity. In order to demonstrate this, I'll need to give you more context. Another important thing to note about this really cool caves in Minecraft video is that I also think that this is on his multiplayer server with Anthony, not in any Mario single player worlds, so that'll be important for later. The next video is called Minecraft Secret Tutorial Level World and is the most blatantly concerning upload so far, besides other two. This video has two descriptions, the original reading, "Thanks to Legend of Anthony 721 for helping me get this working," and the new one reading simply, "Not sure." The gameplay itself is normal, but the entire idea of the video is just wrong. The file date is October 30th, 2010, but this tutorial world wasn't even released until May 31st, 2011, and even then it was exclusive to console versions. The version is Alpha V 1.2.0, but even if someone were to build a replica of the tutorial world, it wouldn't be released until the same time as Beta V 1.6.6. This is a whole 7-8 month discrepancy. The main thing to remember is that access to this tutorial world shouldn't be possible, and that it was Anthony who helped Mario get it working. The next video is very concerning. It is titled Minecraft Castle Construction, and the description reads, "Sent to me by Anthony. He wanted me to upload it since he had trouble uploading it." The file is dated November 3rd, 2010. The first thing we see is very alarming. Anthony looks like the entity, just an all-black model. It seems like whatever illness or ailment is affecting Anthony is causing him to become more and more like the entity, digging tunnels and losing his player model. He seems to be building a castle, and presumably to get more stone, he heads towards a nearby cave. He pauses his game, and while he is gone, we can see the entity emerge out of the cave before returning into it. Anthony returns and heads into the cave we just saw the entity come out of. This cave is extremely unnatural and resembles a 4x4 strip mine. The entity is tunneling just like we saw what was presumably Anthony doing in Minecraft Base Tour. At the end of the tunnel is a 2x2 hole. Anthony looks down before we hear the very familiar sound of blocks placing, and Anthony is punched down the hole. The entity seemingly miscalculated, as Anthony is left alive at 1.5 hearts. He pillars out and seals off the entire cave once at the surface. After he returns to his base, the video ends. It's also important to note that skeletons in this video held their bows the correct way. However, in the alpha, skeletons held their bows like normal items. Are these versions actually the versions that they're claiming to be? The next video is titled For Anthony and is dated November 5th, 2010. The description simply reads, "Delete it." At around 23 seconds, we can see a dark figure in the distance. Endermen weren't added until later in beta, so it's safe to assume this is the entity. At 1 minute 21, we see Mario attempting to change his render distance, but it is stuck on tiny. He proceeds into the cave that Anthony ventured into last video. There is a huge problem. The cave is bigger than last time. Mario spawned in the same area as Anthony did last video, suggesting the world had not been touched, and we did not see these new tunnels when Anthony was walking back out of the cave. This implies whatever this entity is can play on your world while your computer isn't even on, or at least while you aren't on the world yourself. The torch Mario places at 3:14 is broken by something. Right before he quits, this torch is placed in front of him, eerily illuminating the area around him. Though we can't see anything, this obviously scared Mario, and the description saying "delete it" is most likely him telling Anthony to delete the world. The last video in the series is titled Beta 1.1 Mob Grinder, and things have seemingly taken a turn for the worse. The file is dated December 30th, 2010. No description is offered. We can see in the beginning a chat log between Mario and Anthony. It reads as follows. Mario, delete it. Anthony, what? Mario, the world, delete the world you sent me. Anthony, why? Did you find something? Mario, I did. Something is really wrong with it. I'll send a video I'll record, hold on. The gameplay begins fairly normally, but that doesn't last. Mario is showing off his mob grinder as stated in the title. The gameplay cuts, however, and we jump to Mario hiding in an enclave under a mountain. He walks about to see leather and pork chops strewn around. Whatever he is hiding from certainly came through angry. He hurriedly gets in a minecart and goes off to hide somewhere else. When he gets to his new location, however, he hears the very familiar sound of rapid block placement, and in a panic gets in a minecart and sets back on the way he came. This is where the video ends. These are all the videos in the series, so let's connect the dots and get into my theory. All the way in the beginning in Other 2, Anthony has known about this entity. For some reason, later in the beta mob grinder chat logs we saw, he plays dumb about it, but he knew. Why didn't he warn Mario? It seems like this would be the only logical thing to do, but Anthony just didn't. It's my thought that whether it was of his own free will or not, the entity has total control over Anthony. Whether Anthony is worshipping the entity for some reason, or whether the entity actually has possessed Anthony, he is not in control of his actions. The entity has full control over it. The entity trapping Anthony and applying psychological pressure by saying he isn't a good person and he should quit lying to himself. Both were things meant to intimidate Anthony, and they succeeded. Anthony submitted to the entity from the beginning. In Other, I believe the sickness Anthony is experiencing is a direct result of the entity. He complains of it but leaves out anything about the entity, even though we know he knew about it. In the base tour, we see something tunneling. It has blue legs, but the entity is black. The Steve skin has blue legs, and in Alpha, everyone was Steve. Anthony was the one tunneling under Mario's base. This shows that Anthony was losing more of his autonomy to the entity. Not only was he too sick to go outside, forced to sit and play the game, but the way in which he played the game was starting to be taken from him. In Minecraft's secret tutorial level world, it was Anthony who sent this content that didn't exist yet to Mario. I don't believe this was the moment that attached the entity to Mario, given that nothing weird happened in the gameplay, but I believe it shows how the entity infected Anthony's world to begin with. Toying around with unreleased versions and features as Anthony seemingly does is dangerous. They aren't official releases, and so you could really be downloading anything. It seems Anthony has done just that. In Minecraft Castle Construction, we see Anthony lose his player model to match the entity, symbolizing the entity's immense control over him. We then see the entity attack Anthony. I said earlier that the entity miscalculated the fall, but did it really? I think whatever autonomy, whatever was left of Anthony inside that hollow shell, was trying to avoid infecting Mario directly with the entity. This caused the entity to take more extreme measures of intimidation against Anthony, and it worked. In the next video, for Anthony, we see Anthony has sent Mario the corrupted world, and Mario loads it up to investigate for himself. This was the moment that Mario was infected, and in the very next video, Beta Mob Grinder, we see that the entity has arrived in one of Mario's own worlds. So there it is, my take on the Old Minecraft Reuploads. A friend that was either possessed or went crazy and betrayed his friend. He infected him with whatever this entity is, whatever it was. Anthony betrayed Mario and infected him with it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I really like Minecraft ARGs. I really like ARGs in general, but I think Minecraft in particular, being a sandbox game, is just a very good storytelling medium. I just really enjoy it, and I hope you guys enjoyed it too. So that's it for me. See ya.